even though you may feel those feelings, and even though those feelings may actually be true, it may actually be accurate. Nobody knows the future of your special needs child, not even you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the newest episode of Nick Speaks, the podcast dedicated to giving those in the disabled community a voice, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud. You guys, today I want to talk to special needs parents, and I really want you to listen to me because I'm going to share my heart with you. Several years ago, I was sitting in a church service, and I don't know if the statistic that I'm going to give you is actually true. I haven't done any research on it, but I adventure to say that it is because I know a lot of single parents, a lot of single moms who are special needs parents. And the statistic that was given was that over 90% of special needs children are in single parent homes. And in the particular statistic that the pastor that I was listening to was giving, he was talking about over 90% over 90% of special needs parents are single moms. And that's because over 90% of special needs dads, once they find out that their child is special needs and they're going to have complex needs the rest of their lives, and they're going to be in wheelchairs or they need to go to multiple doctor's appointments, a lot of times the dads cannot handle it. According to the statistic, over 90% of special needs dads cannot handle that their child has special needs and is not quote unquote normal. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, I just did air quotes, normal. Remember that you can watch this podcast on my YouTube channel at Nicolas Comstock. And I remember that hearing that statistic was startling. I remember the year I heard it. It was 2010. I was sitting in a Sunday morning church service, and my parents have been together for over 40 years. They did not split up, thankfully. But I remember thinking, wow, that's crazy. Over 90% of special needs parents split up because their child is special needs. And the dad in this particular statistic is the one that ends up leaving. And I want to say to those dads who have left because you found out your son or daughter had special needs and you just couldn't fix them. You wanted to fix the problem. And, men are fixers. And when we can't fix something, we're frustrated. Number one, your special needs child doesn't need to be fixed. They're perfect just the way they are. God knew they were going to be like that. God loves them the way they are. You need to love them the way they are too. And it may be hard to accept the fact that your son or daughter is special needs, but you know what? They can't get up and walk away from it. They can't get up and say, screw Down syndrome. I'm not dealing with Down syndrome. They can't get up and say, screw autism. I'm not dealing with autism. So, what gives you the right, dad or mom, depending on which one of you walks away? Like I said, the statistic that I was given was over 90% of special needs dads, but I'm sure it could be possibly just as high or maybe about the same with moms. Your daughter, your son that has special needs by no fault of their own can't get up and walk away. They have to go through this journey whether they like it or not. And they need someone like you, mom or dad, that says, yes, it sucks that my daughter has special needs. It sucks that my son has special needs. And some days I can't handle it. And oh, by the way, it's okay to say that, mom and dad. It's okay to say that having a special needs child sucks and it's hard for you. And this isn't what you envisioned. Because let's be honest, if the doctor was told, if the doctor told you that you were going to have a special needs child and you jumped up and clapped and jumped for joy, I would say that you need to see a psychiatrist because nobody wants to hear those words. Your son or daughter is not normal. Nobody wants to hear that. They don't want to hear that their son or daughter has to go to special classes outside from regular kids. They don't want to hear that their son or daughter has to spend hours in PT and OT therapy. They don't want to hear that they're going to have to spend hours upon hours fighting with insurance companies and doctors' offices to get their special medical care that their son or daughters needs. So it's okay to say, special needs mom or dad, I can't handle it. This sucks. But to get up and walk away and leave your son or daughter in the same predicament while you ride off into the sunset and have a normal life, while your son or daughter is still dealing with the effects of Down syndrome or whatever they may have, that's not fair. What if you all of a sudden at a moment's notice become special needs? Do you want the folks around you to say what you said to your son or daughter? I'm so sorry, but I can handle this, so I have to leave. If you all of a sudden become special needs yourself, mom or dad, do you want the folks that have loved you up until that point to crack under the pressure and say, I can no longer deal with this? This is not what I signed up for. No, you would be begging for them to love you just like they always have. Just like your son or daughter is saying, I have no control over the fact that I'm special needs, but I still need to be loved. I still need to be cared for. Some of you were sitting listening to this podcast right now, and your son or daughter with special needs is in a room with a TV, phone, and computer. You don't have much interaction with them because you just don't know what to do with them. They're not like your other normal children. They're not in sports. They just sit and watch a TV and love to go out to eat, but that's too much stress for you to even take them out to eat because by the time you get done with your 10-hour or 15-hour workday, the last thing you want to do is go take your special needs son or daughter out of the bedroom and go engage with them because you're so tired from your long workday. But do you understand, special needs parents? It's very tiring having a disability. It's very tiring having to have someone do everything that we wish we could do for ourselves. It's very tiring to have someone make us feel like a burden day in and day out. And what a lot of special needs parents do is that their resentment towards God, their resentment towards the world, because they had a special needs child, spills over onto their special needs children. Parents take it out on their special needs children. What special needs parents start to do is they start to take um, a look in a very blurry camera and start to look at all the things that their special needs son or daughter can't do and say, well, that's just it. And in actuality, your special needs son or daughter could probably do a lot more than you think they can. If you would just actually give them the time of day and actually sit down with them and say, okay, what do you want to do? What does life look like for you? You say, well, my son or daughter's nonverbal. They're not going to have a normal life like someone else would. I'm always going to be with them. Okay, even if that's the case, why don't you sit down and figure out, okay, they're going to be nonverbal, but they're going to have the most exciting life that I can give them. And yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, I'll swallow my pride and go to support groups, but I'm going to make sure they have the best life no matter what, because their life is already complex because of their disability. And they don't need me making their life more complex because I can't figure out how to handle their disability, and I'm not the one that has it. Truth be known, special needs parents, your special needs kids handle their disability a lot more better than you do, and a lot more of a better attitude. I don't know how we do it. I say I do it because of God's grace. I'm a born again Christian. I'm a born again believer. That's how I do it. And I don't know how any other way that I would do it. Special needs parents, I beg of you, don't walk out on your son or daughter because they can't walk and leave their disability. Some of them literally cannot walk. They're in wheelchairs. They're blind. They're mentally challenged. And just because they're mentally challenged does not mean their life is over either. It just means that they have to figure out, they have to take another route. The GPS that was set up for them at the beginning of life has to take another route because the route that they were planning on going, God had another route for them. And don't listen to anybody who says, I can fix your son or daughter. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, your special needs son or daughter does not need to be fixed. They are perfect the way they are. God loves them the way they are. Do I believe God can heal special needs? I absolutely do. But I also believe that God can use those of us in the special needs community to wake up those who aren't special needs and say, it's hard for them to get up out of bed every day. I've given you legs, I've given you a good mind. You don't need any home health care, and yet you still struggle to get out of bed every day. What's your excuse? Parents, I'll say this. Don't ever say to your child with special needs, you'll never get married. You'll never have a job. You'll never live on your own. Even though you may feel those feelings, and even though those feelings may actually be true, it may actually be accurate. Nobody knows the future of your special needs child, not even you. My pastor's son is special needs, was born with the most severe case of autism back in 1993 when they were first discovering autism. My pastor and his lovely wife were told, put your son in an institution and forget that he was ever born. Today, their son works on our social media team at our church. Their son has a girlfriend, has had a girlfriend for 7 years. Their son is one of the most brilliant minds at our church, and he is a fully functioning member of society. Not saying that he has drawbacks. I'm sure he does. And I'm sure your son or daughter does. But disability does not mean that their life is over. And the last thing they need you to do when they find out, when you find out that they're going to be disabled, is walk away because you can't handle the D word, disabled. You can't handle your son or daughter is going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. Well, guess what? Your son or daughter has to deal with it. And it's going to be very hard some days. And they're going to need you now more than ever to help deal with it. Because you know what, special needs parents? For a long time, maybe forever, I don't know. For a long time, you will be your son or daughter's only friend. Because I can tell you, as someone who is disabled, I struggle to find friends. And I've struggled all my life. And for a while, I was called a mama's boy because I was always wanted to be with my mom. And for many years, my mom was my primary caregiver. You will be your special needs son or daughter only friend for a long time. And they don't need their only friend to walk out when it gets tough. They're going to need you. For you special needs dads, you may say, but I want to take my son fishing. I don't want to sit and watch little kiddie shows. I want to take my son fishing. I never envisioned this. Well, you don't know what you sitting and watching that little kiddie show with your mentally disabled son or daughter is going to compute in their brain. It would probably compute, hey, my dad is actually doing this with me and is actually enjoying it. My dad loves me. That's probably what it would compute. You know, growing up, I felt a lot of my parents' resentment because I was a special needs child. For years, I have struggled to know whether or not my dad loves me or not. We're at a better place now than what we've been. We're not best friends. I don't think we'll ever get to that point. But if there's anything that your special needs child needs to know, mom and dad, number one, their disability is not their fault. Number two, they don't need fixed. They're perfect just as they are. Number three, you love them no matter what. And number four, you're not mad at them because they're disabled. That's what they need to know. And you're the best person to give that to them because you're the people, mom and dad, that are going to spend the most time with. And they need to know that you're in it for the long haul and that you're not going to duck and run when it gets tough. Special needs parents, I hope this wasn't too harsh. I'm just sharing my heart with you today, and I really hope that this has opened your eyes. And if you're a special needs dad out there, especially out there struggling with this, and you would like me to just a friend to talk to, I'm not a licensed counselor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a pastor, I don't claim to have all the answers. But if you need someone to talk to, my email is nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. I would love to talk to you about it. I would love to have you come on my podcast as a guest and share your struggles as a special needs parent. And same thing, moms, I would love to hear from you. And if you're out there and you would love for me to come speak at your special needs event or your group to folks with disabilities, you can reach out to me at nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. I would love to set up a time to meet with you. That's one of the reasons for this podcast, is so that I can get paid speaking engagements and get off the government system and be self-supporting, because that is the goal. But moms and dads with children that have special needs, your child already feels so alone. Your child already feels so unaccepted. They need two people that are in their corner no matter what. Please, I beg of you, be those two people. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of Nick Speaks, the podcast dedicated to giving those in the disabled community a voice, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud. Please join us for the next episode, and please subscribe to Nick Speaks on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as my YouTube channel. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.